Being honest, the vast majority, if not all, of economists, they're just guessing, and that's okay. I mean, a big part of the economy and just dealing with markets is trying to figure out what's going on, and that doesn't mean we shouldn't still listen to what the economists are saying and their forecasts and their predictions because end of the day there's a lot of policy decisions, things that are going to affect small business owners, large businesses, and what they're going to do. So, I spend a lot of time listening and to economists, looking at their forecasts, researching, not because I'm necessarily concerned about what they're saying, what's important. I want to see the data that they present because what that does is it gives me this nice little, you know, the positive forecasts over here, negative ones are over here, and then I'm able to make my own decisions, which is what I always want to be able to help my clients do. And that's what I work as far as getting with the forecasts, so I can consolidate the data and then help them make the best decisions they can for their business. Again, that's what I do as a business coach. Again, for those that don't know, my name is Ryan Howell. I'm a business coach. I work out of West Michigan and around the country. I come here live pretty consistently every single day, sharing information I share with my clients. And I hope to earn your subscription. Now, today we're going to take a look at an article from Business Insider. Link is in the description. Be sure to go check that out. That is from one of the top economists here. The forecast they say is a four bold forecast, and I'm not necessarily, whatever. Any forecast you make is going to be bold right now because, frankly, we don't really know what's going to be going on 6 months from now. And in a Trump presidency, we definitely don't know what's going to be happening in 3 months, let alone later this year. However, there's data in here that I want to share, and part of this is going to be looking at a chart towards the end that has timelines, and which I think when I looked at them, they make a lot of sense and are going to be foreshadowing some of the things we're going to be seeing for consumers, but also it's going to be for employees and employers, what we have coming down the pike here. So the U.S. is staring down a fate worse than recession. Four other bold forecasts. Top economists here. So this is from Torsten Sloke said stagflation. Okay, stagflation is a terrible word, and it's awful. And we're going to explain. For those that don't know, we get into a definition down here, but it is the worst of the economic conditions to be in. Okay. Again, this is according to Torsten, the chief economist at Apollo Global Management, who thinks the U.S. is at a critical inflection point for stagflation, a dire scenario in which economic growth slows while inflation remains high. And it is extremely difficult to get out of a stagflationary environment. There's the theory behind it and everything, but at the end of the day, there's a glut of money that has to move through the system. And when you have slow economic growth, the speed with which that money can move through the economy grinds to a halt, which keeps inflation high. Like this, it's the way it works, folks. It's just the system has to process the money in one way, shape, or form. And when you're in a stagflationary environment, everything grinds to a halt and prices go up. It's really bad. Now, the problem is often regarded as even harder for policymakers to solve than a recession, as higher inflation can prevent the Federal Reserve from cutting interest rates to boost the economy. Scenario has largely been triggered by President Donald Trump's tariffs, again, in a white paper published on Monday. Tariff hikes are typically stagflationary shocks. They simultaneously increase the probability of an economic slowdown while putting upward pressure on prices. And again, growing consensus on forecasts and Wall Street economic growth have drifted lower this year, and that is dramatically. So this is our first chart we're going to look at here. And consensus forecasting for GDP. You can just see where we got core PCE. This is inflation. Consumer price index is up here. And then we down here where we have where the expectations for our overall GDP dropping, right? That's not good. Definition of stagflation. So GDP will more than half from its peak last year. GDP growth slowed to about 1.2%. And its peak was 3.1. And that is pretty consistent. I think I've been hearing that. They not only has the economy been slowing, but they expect it to continue to drop. And one thing to keep in mind, folks, is that GDP, a large component of the gross domestic product for the United States, is government spending. That's another piece here. So with some slashes that have been going on, and you currently have a Congress and president that want to, quote unquote, cut spending while they're looking to raise the deficit. there's things that are going to be cut here and there. Okay. So just understand that's going to be part of it, until it's not. And then they're going to be spending a ton of money again because, they have to get reelected in the legislature next year. Now, inflation will remain above average in 2025 and it's going to hover around 3%. That's, and this is the part that cracks me up too. So we look at that 3% as saying, oh, that's not bad because recency bias has us thinking about the 7 to 9% inflation we just went through, right? And we're at 3%, which is above where the um, Federal Reserve wants to have it. Okay. And that's one of the things that they wanted around 2% for inflation so that they can start cutting rates. 3% means they need to basically stand fast where they're at. That's kind of the way it works out here. So that's why you're not going to see a change in interest rates. Unemployment will rise through 2026. Now, this one in particular, when I was looking at this is something that has been the standard, this has been the base case for me and my clients consistently, that we know unemployment is going to not only stay the same, it's probably going to be going up, which for my clients, we are in a cycle of looking for talent. So that's not necessarily a bad thing for my clients. We are looking to hire specific skill sets. So we've been planning for this and we're working through this. We're not in a hurry to hire because we know that there's going to be more talent. But for the vast majority of employees who have been living through an environment that has had a high rate of basically layoffs and unemployment and slowing hiring, it's going to get worse and it's going to stay worse, which isn't good for the economy as a whole because that's less money going in, right? So the jobless rate here could rise from 4.2 currently to 4.4 and then up to 5% or higher in 2026. And I think that's about right. That's really where some of the things I'm seeing and what it just feels like when we're out in industry. The seasonal hiring is happening, but at a slower rate, which is also not good. It's just everything has a feel of we're just waiting for things to continue to fall off the cliff. Like that's what's happening. Now, when the U.S. saw stagflation in the 70s and 80s, the unemployment rate peaked at about 9% in 75 before cooling and then rising to another peak of almost 11% in the early 80s. And that tends to be what happens. Again, just like I was talking about earlier, we'll go back to the article for the last section there because it's got the great chart in there. I want to be able to show you guys. So just like when we talk about money has to work its way through the system, right? It has to be able to process through the system. When there's a change in the overall makeup of the economy, jobs have to work their way through the system as well too. And with the advent of the change in technology, not just with AI, I mean, I'm gonna just be clear on that. What we have with large language models, agentic AI, and their ability to replace folks. My virtual assistant, I was able to get rid of my virtual assistant utilizing AI. I went from basically needing 16 hours of help a week to 0. As the work now I can do with my AI is now done in 4 minutes on every task. It just sits and spins and does it for me. So that's what I mean. And I'm just one dude, right? One dude doing my work. So across the board in larger companies, you're seeing it. And we got more conversations about more layoffs that are happening. So, but with that, those jobs, the work still needs to be done somewhere. Like that's the thing. There is still a need for jobs and positions and places. It's just that we don't have the people in the right place and they don't have the training and the skill set to meet those. So those take time to work through the system. And it's usually a 5 to 7 year cycle. That's what most people don't want to hear. All right. So with that, let's get into the last piece here and then talk a little bit about how I'm advising my clients. Okay. So last piece here, the economy could still face a recession as soon as the summer. And that's true. Now, the rate of the possibility for a recession they have pegged is about 25%. And prior to Trump's tariffs, the firm wasn't anticipating a recession at all either this year. I had with my clients, we were looking at a pretty steady decline to possibly a recession, but not necessarily having one. All the data changed back in January, February, it changed. And then that got turned on its head as soon as we had Liberation Day with the tariffs that Trump put out there. All right, so here's what I wanted to be able to show you guys. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger over here so you can see just a little bit better. This is the chart that I wanted to be able to share with all of you. And this is why I'm sharing this video. this right here, share with your friends this video and tell them, make sure, obviously we will have to like, share, and subscribe, but we want to be, everyone should be aware of this chart. And this is the math to what's going to be leading to the economic slowdown that we're getting ready to go into. And this is simply just logistics. I'm a logistician by trade. This is so I wanted to be able to see what did the math look like, and this is why we're here. All right, so Liberation Day, where we did the tariffs, 20 to 40 days for container ship transit time. Right, it's how long it takes for stuff to move. Container ships to U.S. ports slow significantly, which we saw. We saw this huge slowdown in May. 1 to 10 days, truck rail transit time to cities. Mid-May, trucking demand slows significantly. Empty shelves into late May, and you're starting to see that. You are starting to see where there are scattered shortages. Not anything crazy, folks. Not insane, but they're starting to peak up. And then this is what we're seeing. Locally, we're seeing a 30% drop at my area in West Michigan, 30% drop through the spring in retail sales, but just down. People aren't spending, but they're also not, they did a rush to buy stuff earlier in the year for certain items, and now they're not shopping for anything. Late May, early June, layoffs in trucking and retail industry, and that is what's happening. We are seeing it. People are not hiring in retail. The job ads are down. And then trucking is going to be the next spot because nothing's moving. This is what we're seeing. So again, this take a screenshot, share this video. This is what folks this is just reality. What's happening right now here, folks. So again, link is in the description. Be sure to go check that out. That's what's just occurring now. Nothing says that we are going to end up in a position where we're going to have that recession, where all these things are going to occur. We could easily have an uptick in spending. Right, it's summertime, folks are going to be out. They can easily come around. I'm always hesitant to bet against the U.S. consumer's ability to find credit and go spend money they don't have. Like I never ever try to bet against that. It's kind of like saying the sun's going to come up tomorrow. We know people are going to find credit and spend money. However, there is a good possibility that won't occur also, or it's going to be muted. And frankly, for the U.S. economy, any slowdown in spending will have dramatic effects on the overall economy. And we've been seeing that as a slowdown. So that's the math, folks. That's where we're seeing where the tariffs are now getting to the point where the slowdown in purchases, everything's made it through the system. We're now at the point where there's less trucking, there's less stuff being moved because less stuff is being bought. And we don't know what that's going to do. I have a good idea, but again, we'll see what comes with it. So with that, as far as my clients, what I'm advising, we have already done some purchasing ahead of time. We have been stockpiling cash for almost a year in preparation for a Trump presidency, just to be able to take advantage of basic supply shocks and different things that are out there, and also to be able to just get capital whenever we need it versus trying to figure out what's going to be going on at the banks and other rest. So we've been stockpiling cash for, well, almost 18 months now. And many of my clients are just on the back end and they're saying, okay, we're ready to go do some stuff as soon as it makes sense. And that's what we're waiting for, is a couple signals right now. Now, if you are a business owner that is looking to sell their business, again, for me personally, I work with the value builder system. And what that is when I talk to business owners who are thinking about selling their business, or they have a business and they're not sure, frankly, the value of their business, I have them go to the link that's down in the description. Go check it out. It's free. It takes about 15 minutes to fill out. And when you go complete the value builder assessment, what you end up with is a score that buyers use when they are evaluating how much they want to pay for a business. And that's what I do. I help business owners turn their companies into cash printing machines that buyers will purchase for high multiples. Now, if you're interested in that, again, go check out the link down in the description for the value builder. I think you'll, again, 15 minutes. If you aren't even thinking about selling your business, it's still worthwhile to go take the survey, because what you're going to learn and what my clients learn while utilizing the value builder system is they can still make a lot of money with their business, even if they're not willing to looking to sell it, because we turn businesses into cash printing machines. Okay. So with that, go check it out. It's down below. All right. For folks who made it this long, and I appreciate everybody who's been here so long. Hopefully